Hello bookworms, and welcome to day 19 of your digital Vlogmas advent calendar. I hope you've been enjoying opening these every day as much as I've been enjoying making them. So as usual, we have 3 bookish questions to answer today. Comment your answers down below, and then we'll move into our Christmas activity for today as well. So first question, do you judge a book by its cover? Would a shoddy cover put you off? Yes and no. I am attracted to a beautiful book cover. However, I have read some books. I have got some books with some really ugly covers that just sound really intriguing or have been recommended that I can't wait to read. So no, I don't judge a book entirely by its cover, but I am a sucker for a beautiful cover. That will get my attention for sure. Question 2, has a book ever changed your life? I think just books in general have changed my life. Not a specific one, but books in general, because I had such a connection with books as a child of a single mum and an only child. Books were my comfort zone and my company and my safe place and my entertainment. So books really were a huge part of my life growing up. And then I've ended up having this career in librarianship. So I have to say, it's not just a single book that's affected my life and changed my life. It's books in general. And third question for today, if you were to own a bookstore, what would it be like? How would you arrange the books? Would you serve coffee and food, play music? Where would it be? Okay, so in an ideal world where there were no restrictions and no boundaries, in a treehouse, in the treehouse, we would serve all cozy foods, coffee, cakes, pastries, tea, any food that made you feel cozy would be served. Bread, freshly baked bread in the treehouse every day, probably a fire hazard, but this is my fantasy, so back off. We'd also have big comfy chairs with cushions everywhere. In an ideal world, I wouldn't be allergic to cats, so it would also be a cat sanctuary and also a dog sanctuary. So we would also have store cats and dogs that you could adopt. There'd also be hammocks outside in the branches of the trees where you could go and read and hang out in your hammock if you liked. It would smell constantly of old books, coffee and baking bread. The music I would play would be, it'd just be, the background music would be a crackling fire and rain on a tin roof and a light kind of storm. Not a scary storm, but just a bit of thunder and lightning. I would arrange the books probably by genre, and also I'd put all the children's books in like a loft so that they would have to climb up a ladder, and then they could go and sit in their loft, which would have like a crow's nest, if you can imagine that, a crow's nest of a ship. So they could go right to the top and read with like a panoramic view around them, but feel all cozy in their loft in the treehouse at the very top. You'd get up via ladder, but you'd get down, of course, you'd get down out of the treehouse with like a curly slide to the bottom. There'd also be lots of yarn and lots of unfinished crochet and knitting projects that you could just pick up if you want and add a few rows to. You could also play board games, and I'd also have an introvert's room, which would be completely silent, where you're not allowed to talk to or look at anyone else in the room. It's completely silent and no socialization whatsoever. You can go in there and you can sit underneath a blanket if you like, and no one will disturb you while you're reading. That's what my bookstore would look like. I think that'd be really cool. So those are the answers to the questions from me today. Comment your answers down below. I'd love to hear what your bookstores would look like. If there was no rules and no fire codes and you could have whatever you wanted, I'd love to hear that down below. So on to today's day 19 Christmas activity.